Well, actually, why did you start? What was the initial?
To start coming and seeing you in the first place.
What was the
I ended up really...
I knew Rachael from the gyms years ago,
Yeah.
like years and years ago.
Really straightforward. Ended up, my first son was born, and just at that point I felt like I'd always done a bit of running, played some very bad amateur football, yeah, to say the least. And then I ended up just wanting to get a bit stronger and bigger, and maybe setting that more of a role model. Not a baby at
I remember
6 months.
That. Yeah,
Just going to be watching what I'm doing, but I kind of wanted to get into that mode.
But I remember you saying that was a big push.
Yeah.
Tom coming along, and being sort of in that zone. So then we started training, and I remember you were doing like bent over rows, or you were deadlifting like 50 kg. I remember, which is mad. Seeing now that you did like 140 for double digits or something. I think we had in there.
I think as well, would have started off doing chins and things, and you maybe put 2 or 3 together, and then as time goes on, you don't maybe even appreciate how much you're improving, but you start to get into adding 10 kg on 15, getting up towards 20 plus.
And yeah, because you'd done marathons, all that sort of carry on beforehand?
Would have done pretty consistent sort of running, and then would have dipped in and out of doing like sort of body weight stuff, but it was never on a program or any consistency with it. It was just all very much ad hoc, really.
Okay.
Having a coach, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, but having a coach who, well, Maxima, as you said, Rachael knew who you were, and she was like, there's a guy, Neil, just around the corner who's, meant to be brilliant. And what I felt then is having that structure of, I love it, because I've pretty much been coming here Monday nights, 5:30, very routinely. I would definitely say I probably wouldn't still be training if I didn't have you on a Monday night to keep me in check in terms of knowing that you're always going to be turning up.
Yeah, because a lot of it is obviously you're trying to keep your food between the hedges and get your progressive overload in your training, and always look to like, where can I get you from a white belt to black belt in terms of your strength work and your calisthenics and stuff. But for a lot of people, like some of the guys in today, like have trained that long, like they could train me, but it's the accountability sometimes of just having a slot. It's your slot, and you go, you know what, that's when I go, and you would be clued in now, but it's just a matter of that's your time.
There's an element of that as well. I think really important for this is whenever it comes to that 1 hour, it's like I don't think about work, I don't think about the house and the kids and everything's going on, and we just always get a pretty good session and have a good chat about things.
So talk to me about, in terms of your progress, like the early days and sort of where you started off, what sort of body weight, body shape sort of thought process, what's your thoughts there?
I never actually thought, because I looked, and we'll come on to this, but there was...
I'll stick a before photo up and I'll do it on the job.
With the sort of photo shoot that had come up, and I know we'll get on to that, I look back on some of the photographs, and I never actually felt like I was proper heavy and massively out of shape. I could do some pretty decent 5K times, but it would have been, now that I've looked back on those photographs, I was like, I was heavier than, and sort of the shape wasn't...
You just don't appreciate it at the time.
Yeah. Basically have massive love handles and...
Yeah, and it's funny for all the, like when you think of like the football and the cardio, you can't outrun your mouth. No. You know, it is that thing where, you can be doing all the running of the day and everything else and be really fit, but it doesn't necessarily equate to body shape, which is always a bit of a thing where people think, oh, I need to do loads of running and everything. It's like, no, that's great as an addition, but you need to be strength training, you need to get stronger, and obviously your nutrition needs to be... For
me, the running now is very much like just a bit of a headspace thing. Yeah, it's just nice to get
like
out.
Like 5K type, going
5K, quick run.
Quick runs, it's getting out of the house for a bit of time. So in terms of we're training away, we're getting stronger, and then where does the goal of photo shoot come into it? Because I have a love-hate with photo shoots, because I think there's a lot of the Instagram stuff at the minute. You know, people are signing up to a gym on their first day, and they're signing up to nearly a photo shoot process. And I've always said that for a lot of people, like when you came to me, you were at sea level, and we spent such a long time getting to that, and I overuse this analogy, but that base camp. And then when you're at that base camp, you decide, I'm actually in pretty good nick here, I'm feeling strong, I'm feeling good, my food's almost there. I wouldn't mind a wee goal that is just your Everest. And you know that you're never going to necessarily stay at photo shoot level, but you know that, fuck, I wouldn't mind just seeing what it's like up there at the top of Everest, because then you're, sort of like you're saying, you come back to a base camp that will be higher than what it was before.
Definitely.
And you're miles from that sort of sea level of where you started.
There's two things I would say on that. Basically, for me, the photo shoot came after wanting to do I wanted to get my body fat percentage down to 10% because I felt that would be a really nice lean look, first and foremost. But I just know how I'm wired, and I was thinking I need to get the photo shoot in there, because then if I know I'm going to be standing in front of somebody who's got a camera, I kind of have to do it, because you don't want to be turning up there not feeling like you've given it everything. So the photo shoot was the secondary part of the first goal, which was getting down to 10% body fat.
And for that, we got measured. It was a bod pod with George, so it was the and George is brilliant. And he does like a before bod pod thing. We basically sit in that submarine tank, and it works out your body fat. It's all by your oxygen and everything. It's a bit of a
so the first time I went, it was kind of sort of 80. I weighed myself the day before, a couple of days before, it was about 82. Seeing George the first time, and I was 80. And I was sitting around 20.5%.
As much as I could? Yeah. I thought you were top teens, but yeah, you
no, it was 20.5, and then I probably went again like 2 months after that, and I was about 73 something, 14%, and then I went in the final one, it was 70.4 kg, and then it was 9.9%.
Just under 10.
See, you've more symmetry there, but you don't have your lower back in, okay? Whereas there, boom, on the money, okay? That one more width, so that's the one I would pick, okay? Good. Push into the toes. Good. Couple more. Look down and laugh for me. Give me a laugh. There we go. Couple more. Bigger laugh. Good.
Again, I never give Ross a diet. I think it's because if you're on a diet, you're off a diet. And I was chatting to some of the guys about this today. It was always just, I want you to learn how to eat for this process so that you understand it. Yeah. And by the end of it, you knew it inside out. And again, it's because it is a whole thing. You give a man a diet, he's on and off it. It's like the whole give a man a fish type thing. Whereas I say with the food side of it, I kept you between the hedges in terms of just that calories, maybe a wee bit of tweak, protein bit of tweak or whatever. But ultimately it was 4 months of Ross learning how to eat for specific end result. That'll be right,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you recommended a good app for me to use to keep track of things. And then what I noticed is that probably, I would say 6 to 8 weeks, it was all a wee bit up and down. The weight was coming down and things were improving. And then probably from about 7, 8 weeks out from the shoot, I properly dialed into really managing the calories, and I worked out the set meals that I was happy to have.
Because your diet was never bad though, overly, it was just more a portion size thing.
Yeah, that during the week would have been good. I can manage whenever I'm in work and have that bit more of a structure. Like most people, I probably fell down whenever it came to weekends and things. It was just handy to get a takeaway, out for breakfast, out for brunch, coffee shops, tray bakes, sweet tooth, just your classic sort of all the pitfalls that you might have. There was definitely a point, and the good thing about doing this with you, and people will have maybe some others that they speak to, but you kind of prepared me for all the things that I was about to experience. So getting the 10% body fat, whenever I went to see George, you feel light and you almost feel skinny.
Yeah, and there's a scrawniness that comes with that, which 100%. I hate because I was a skinny kid, so I actually like feeling a bit fuller and a bit, I don't mind nearly not being as lean, but feeling maybe a bit stronger. It's good for my jits and all that, so I prefer it. But yeah, see, going into that, so a lot of times when you start off and you're sort of leaning out, you carry a wee bit of bulk and you feel pretty good, and then you go through that skinny fat stage where you feel a bit scrawny, you're maybe not as strong, apart from maybe chins and dips and that sort of stuff. And then there's a point there where you then start to look good, and then that can become quite addictive. And I said this to you, where nearly on a day-to-day basis you're like, oh, new vein or new sort of something starts to appear, and that's a cool process.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, rip the legs. Let's go. There's more legs now. Perfect. That's the legs I want.
So you do one right now.
Or if you want, we can put the shorts on. Just
with getting ready for a photo shoot, you don't want to do anything more extreme. Again, it's different for like the guys that are in the bodybuilding world, and it's a bit crazy, but for a photo shoot, and that's what we were saying on Friday, it's like more of a representation of your journey, but it should still fall into a health bracket. I always think of that, like that triangle I've talked about before. We have like health, performance, body competition, and body composition, and you want to be bang in the middle. And for the likes of the bodybuilders who go mad towards body composition, it can affect health and performance, or so you never really want to go too far. And actually, photo shoot wise, you are sort of trying to keep it. You're still healthy. You still feel actually pretty good in the gym, and you're drifting towards definitely body composition.
There was no like diet shakes or green juices or anything like that. It was all solid food.
And that's the thing. The definition of success to me is the fact that you don't train twice a day. You don't do like 2 hours of cardio every morning, fasted cardio, all this sort of stuff. It was just a couple of strength workouts a week, maybe the odd wee blitz of a 5K sort of run, and just being on point with the food, but still enjoying the stuff you like, but just being mindful of your overall calories. And there was some days you went, I was hungry yesterday, I just ate a bit more or whatever. It's grand, you just ebb and flow it. As long as you're in that, as long as you know where your goal is and your behaviours are sort of heading that way, then it's an easy sort of adjustment.
In terms of like, I wouldn't even say there were sacrifices, but it's just planning ahead. That whole experience with Pete taking the photographs, that was brilliant. It was better than I thought it was going to be. Because you came down and Pete actually was brilliant.
I know he's
a good guy.
Very clued in. So the great thing about getting leaner and stronger and fitter, it's not just the aesthetic sort of side of it. And yeah, photo shoots and everything are class, but all of a sudden it opens doors, and it does it in a way that it's like, I set out to do a photo shoot. I looked after my food. I did the photo shoot. It's like, what's next? And you give yourself that wee pat in the back. And again, because some people will just look at a photo shoot purely as a vanity thing or aesthetic thing. It's not. It's a goal setting thing. It's great to say you've done that. I've got a photo of that. It's class, and show the kids and all biz. And then you say, you know what else can I do? And that's my thought process. It's like, I just love having those wee mini challenges. And again, it's that idea of consistency is just bouts of intensity. So you might say, you know what, I'd love to just do 6 weeks of really nailing the handstands and the muscle ups. But yeah, just having those different goals. And then all of a sudden, you can do whatever you want. Any sort of final sort of thoughts in terms of if someone else was saying, I want to look like that in 16 weeks? No, you can't do it.
No, definitely can't.
It's too hard.
Yeah, no, it's and do you know what? It's brilliant. It's something that I will look back on. And you said the photos are there, but they won't. It only shows one moment in that day. Whereas actually, I really enjoyed.
It's a wee snapshot of it.
Finding out, and I've now got, and I don't know if the right word. I've now got the blueprint. So if I ever want to go back and do something like that again, I can just rely on that experience and go, well, this is what worked for me. And actually, what took me 4 months this time, I might be able to do it in 8 to 10 weeks, and I'll be quite happy to do that. I've actually had a couple of people who sort of have had, I didn't tell everybody about it. It wasn't something I was like shouting.
Just like a girl in Tesco's and all.
Don't tell Rachael. And basically they've since said that it's something they'd be interested in doing, and I was like, do you know what? Just get it booked in, stop overthinking it, and go for it.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I don't think you ever do one photo shoot. It's like one jiu-jitsu competition or one, I think you just like maybe one marathon or one high rocks. I think you'll do one and go, all right.
Well, we spoke about it before, where it's like, I got myself down to 70 kgs, whereas I think next time, that's probably the lightest I should go.
Yeah.
Whereas next time, we'll maybe find a weight that's heavier, where I'm a bit bigger.
Yeah, so you
and then we'll try and get it back down, and then
75 kg, but still as lean, if not a bit leaner. Yeah.
And then I'll decide, do I prefer being lighter doing that, or how did I feel whenever I was at that weight doing it, and then compare that to whatever I feel like on maybe a 75 or an 80 kg.
Awesome. Right, well, that was Ross, and class for getting you in, and we'll maybe do that again, actually, because it was good. We could probably do another one down the line.
Yeah.
I'm going to film some B-roll sort of stuff, just like fucking chins and dips and all. Fancy it?
Cool.
Sweet. Cool.